My broken heart. My name is Billy. My wife just cheated on me. Here is my story. I never thought I'd say those words. Even now, as I sit here alone, the weight of them crushes my chest, like an avalanche I can't dig myself out from under. I'm 34 years old, and I thought I had my life figured out. I married the love of my life, Sarah, 8 years ago. We had what I thought was a good life, a comfortable house, steady jobs, and the quiet kind of happiness that doesn't need loud proclamations. But maybe that's where I went wrong. Maybe I let the quiet become complacency. The day I found out started like any other. A normal Tuesday. I kissed Sarah goodbye before work, her lips warm but hurried. That wasn't unusual, she'd been busy lately, with late nights at her office and sudden networking events. I didn't think much of it. I trusted her. I trusted us. But that evening, when she came home, I noticed something was different. She avoided my eyes when I asked how her day went, brushing past me with a vague, just tired. Her perfume lingered in the air, sharper than usual, and a part of me, a small, nagging part, felt uneasy. I ignored it. I didn't want to be that guy, the one who lets insecurities eat away at him. But the universe has a funny way of making you face the things you try to avoid. 2 days later, while I was looking for my phone charger, I accidentally opened her laptop. Her email was already logged in, and before I could think, I saw it. An email thread. Her name. His name. The words blurred together as I read them. Last night was amazing. I can't stop thinking about you. My heart raced, my hands trembled, and for a moment, I thought I might be sick. This wasn't happening. This wasn't Sarah. Not the woman who once wrote me love notes on sticky pads, not the woman who held my hand during my father's funeral, not the woman I'd shared my life with. But it was. The proof was right there, in black and white, and no matter how much I wanted to unread it, I couldn't. For hours, I sat on the couch, staring at nothing. My mind cycled through 1,000 emotions, anger, sadness, confusion. I wanted to scream at her, to demand an explanation, but I also wanted to curl into myself and disappear. How do you confront someone you love about something that could destroy you both? The days that followed were a blur. I avoided Sarah as much as possible, burying myself in work and meaningless distractions. Every time she walked into the room, I felt like I was suffocating. She seemed oblivious to my turmoil, or maybe she was pretending not to notice. Either way, the distance between us grew like a canyon I couldn't cross. One night, after she fell asleep, I drove aimlessly through the city. The streets were quiet, the world dark except for the occasional streetlight. I ended up at a park we used to go to when we first started dating. I sat on a bench, staring at the empty swings, and tried to make sense of everything. Was this my fault? Had I been too distant, too wrapped up in my own routine? Or was it just who she was, something broken in her that I couldn't fix? The questions circled endlessly, and I had no answers. I thought about leaving. About packing my bags, walking away, and starting over. But the thought of losing everything we'd built together, of giving up on the life I'd imagined for us, felt unbearable. I wanted to believe we could fix this, that we could find our way back to each other. But how do you rebuild trust when it's been shattered into a million pieces? One evening, as I was sitting alone in the kitchen, I heard her crying in the bedroom. It wasn't the soft, controlled crying I'd seen before, it was raw and broken, the kind of crying that comes from a place of deep pain. For a moment, my anger melted, replaced by something softer. Despite everything, I still loved her. And that realization hurt more than anything. When I finally confronted her, it was like ripping open a wound that hadn't healed. She admitted everything, the late nights, the lies, the other man. She said it started as a mistake, something small that spiraled out of control. She apologized, over and over, tears streaming down her face, but her words felt hollow. How could I believe her now? For weeks, we danced around each other, trying to navigate this new reality. We went to counseling, trying to unearth the cracks in our foundation, but every session felt like a battlefield. I wanted to understand why she did it, but every answer she gave only seemed to dig the knife deeper. There were moments when I thought we could make it work. When she'd look at me with the same eyes I fell in love with, and I'd remember the good times, the laughter, the love. But those moments were fleeting, overshadowed by the weight of what she'd done. One night, after another argument that left us both drained, I realized something. I was holding on to a version of her that no longer existed. The Sarah I married, the woman I built my life with, was gone. And the more I tried to bring her back, the more I was breaking myself in the process. Letting go was the hardest thing I've ever done. I packed my bags while she was at work, leaving a note on the counter. I didn't hate her, I couldn't. But I knew I couldn't stay either. I needed to find myself again, to figure out who I was outside of us. In the months that followed, I moved into a small apartment on the other side of town. It wasn't much, but it was mine. I spent my days rediscovering the things I loved, reading, hiking, playing guitar. Slowly, I started to feel like myself again. I won't lie and say it was easy. There were nights when the loneliness felt unbearable, when I'd stare at old photos and wonder if I'd made the right choice. But with time, the pain softened. I learned to forgive, not just her, but myself. Looking back, I realized Sarah's betrayal was the end of one chapter, but it wasn't the end of my story. It forced me to confront the parts of myself I'd been avoiding, to grow in ways I never thought possible. Now, as I sit here writing this, I feel a sense of peace I haven't felt in years. Life isn't perfect, and it never will be. But it's mine, and for the first time in a long time, that feels like enough. To anyone going through something similar, know this: it's okay to hurt. It's okay to be angry, to feel lost. But don't let it define you. You're stronger than you think, and there's a whole world waiting for you on the other side. This is my story. And though it's not the one I thought I'd be telling, it's the one that's made me who I am.